I sneaked into a rich woman's house to steal some money, but I collapsed in her rubbish heap-like mansion. As a germophobic thief with six-pack abs, I couldn't help cleaning her house all afternoon, leaving a note scolding her for being sloppy, and then took away $18.95. As a result of all the hard work, I was held down by the police in the noodle shop. But Bai Ningbing not only got into trouble, but after understanding her, he invited me to go shopping and eat every day, and everyone rushed to pay for it. It wasn't until the bowl of red wine was poisoned that I realized that I had become her weapon. My meager salary is not enough to fill the hole in the hospital. People are forced to desperate situations, so they still care about their dignity. The target location this time is a high-end apartment building in the west of the city. The owner of House 04 on the 17th floor is named Bai Ningbin. I'm an office worker who has a regular schedule of 9 to 6 for half a month. My favorite is to swim with enough wind to reduce the wind. Today is the day to do it. I followed him to the downstairs of the unit and watched his shaky back walk to the parking lot. I counted 10 minutes in my mind to make sure he would not go and come back. Then I suppressed the smoke and wandered upstairs. I flicked the keyhole of the spyglass a few times. He said to the effect that the door was opened. I ducked in and closed the door with my backhand. Then I was smelled by a sour smell mixed with the smell of takeout, unwashed clothes, and a strange smell of some kind of perfume. I was stunned at the entrance and almost thought I had opened the wrong door. What kind of garbage did I break into? I know that many young people nowadays have messy homes, but it's such a mess. After all my years of traveling around the world, Emperor Hexiang has never seen clothes piled up on the sofa. I can't tell which ones are clean and which ones are dirty. The takeout boxes on the coffee table are crumbling. There are unfinished items and are already hairy. The snack bags and cosmetics have been dismantled. I even wonder if he never walks at home. Has the fairy spirit been assimilated into the air of this house owner? My little professionalism was instantly covered by a kind of physiological discomfort. The mysophobia in my bones really couldn't bear to be buried in such an environment. An evil fire was rising in my heart. How come such a good house with transparent north and south decoration oil products was brought to life by him? It's a pig's nest. You're so ruthless in stealing things. Wait until this place is cleaned up. I didn't even tell anyone about the place where I stole. I'm so embarrassed by our industry. As soon as I put the tool bag at the door, I rolled up my sleeves and started working. I worked until 4:30 in the afternoon. Mit young, I'm a bit handsome. The handsome thief who had built up his six-pack abs through years of work worked hard as a free cleaner in Bai Ningbing's mansion, cleaning the trash and wiping the tables and mopping the floor. He sorted the clothes that looked like they were well married and sorted what should be hung and what should be disposed of. While I was working, this job was even more tiring than picking up 10 locks. When I finally tightened the last garbage bag, it was already sunset outside the window. I looked at the brand new living room floor in front of me, and the people and belongings were in order. Only the faint lemon fragrance of detergent was left in the air. I let out a sigh, and a ridiculous sense of accomplishment came over me. I was so damn tired that I walked to his bedroom to look for these things. There was some loose change and jewelry scattered in the drawer of the bedside table. I checked the cash, which was not much, totaling 18.95 yuan. I felt a little more balanced in my mind. I thought it was my hard work. Although it was seriously inconsistent with my labor intensity at the time, I found a changer to use the money. Thinking it was quite cool, I left him a message. What a mess you have made of such a nice home. I can't stand being a thief anymore. I started cleaning when you went to work and it took me a day to finish. I was really exhausted. The change in the drawer will be my reward if I fail in the future. I really didn't have time to remember ask for an hour to work. I slapped the note full of hard work and career care on the coffee table. I took the 18.95 yuan of new shares and picked up my tool bag. I left the battlefield exhausted physically and mentally. Bai Ningbing dragged his body that was about to fall apart to the door of his house. There were a lot of things going on in the company today, and he felt like his body was being emptied. His only thought now was to throw off his high heels and throw himself into the pair of soft clothes. If he were to lie down and insert them into the Buddhist hole, he would turn and click. The door would open. A familiar complex smell mixed with the smell of overnight take-out perfume did not hit his face as expected. Instead, it was replaced by a refreshing and slightly cool lemon scent. Bai Ningbing stepped out and his feet would be in the air. This is my house. He retracted his feet like an electric shock and looked up at his doorstep like a fox. 1704. That's right. It's my kennel, not my feng shui treasure. He cautiously poked his head in again. His eyes instantly widened. The floor that was originally flooded with all kinds of debris was widened. At this moment, the lightsaber was like a star, and it could even reflect his face that was a little dull due to horror. There were mountains of piles on the sofa. The relic disappeared, revealing the original high-quality table. Oh my God, he almost forgot that his table was made of transparent glass. He cautiously stepped in towards Mr. Liu, who was entering the Grand View garden for the first time, for fear of stepping on this strange and familiar floor. Oh my God, he exclaimed in a low voice. Everything as far as the eye could see was neat and orderly. He rushed into the bedroom. The bed, which was originally a messy disaster area, was evenly spread, and even the folds seemed to have been carefully designed. He opened the closet door with trembling hands. The dark-colored clothes inside were sorted into categories and hung meticulously. The little girls with cartoon patterns and sexy private parts were neatly stacked in special grids, exuding the fragrance of sunshine and laundry detergent. He exclaimed in surprise and felt a stream of hot air from the soles of his feet to the top of his head and rushed. The body of Durianji reflected her face that looked slightly cute due to shock. The mountains of dishes in the sink disappeared, and the drain rack was clean. It was the Snell girl who had come, or someone from the company who had a crush on my Snell fire engine. No, there are only two keys, one in my hand and one in my hand. Just when the CPU in her brain was about to burn out, her eyes fell on the too-clean coffee table in the living room. A note was particularly conspicuous. She walked over and picked up the note. The handwriting on it is actually a bit handsome. What a mess you have made of such a nice home. Even a thief can't stand it anymore. I started cleaning it when you went to work and it took me a day to finish it. I'm so exhausted. The more than 1,000 yuan in the drawer will be my reward, if I really don't have time to remember it in the future. Bai Ningding, a thief who hired a finisher, reacted and rushed into the bedroom. The drawer was pulled open by the bedside. The loose change inside was indeed missing. A grain, a bucket of souls, rushed to Tianling Gai, and the thief was tired. But did the thief have any serious illness? He didn't steal valuable jewelry and electrical appliances, but he took away Then she gave him a complete deep knot and even left a thoughtful note to educate him on whether there was anything wrong with the plot. He remembered the tiny camera secretly installed in the green juice in the living room and quickly took out his phone to check and call up today's surveillance video. Fast forward. In the fast forward picture, there was a man with a tall and straight figure in clothes. Not long after he left, he skillfully opened the door lock. Bai Ningding's heart tightened. When he saw the man entering the door, he was as stunned as before. The surveillance camera even captured the momentary confusion and indescribable collapse on his face. Then an incredible scene happened. He didn't immediately start rummaging through the boxes. Instead, she stood there with her waist in front of her, and then she seemed to have made up her mind and put the small bag in her hand at the door. Then the surveillance camera recorded a live broadcast that was regarded as a miracle of housekeeping. Frog Chicken wiped the table, mopped the floor, sorted clothes, and was quick and meticulous in her movements, especially when she saw the man monitoring the surveillance frowning, but still carefully dragging up the iron clothes she had thrown away, including the lace panties. Bai Ningbing's face was so painful that it kept turning red. This must be too shameful, but she inexplicably looked at the strange man on the screen, sweating profusely and looking at the dirt for a while. It also feels a little strange. He looks like he is focused on cleaning. The lines on his face outline the tight muscles and control with every movement, especially the looming abdominal muscles when he occasionally bends over. What are you thinking? He is a thief. The surveillance screen finally freezes on the moment when the man took the money and left. Bai Ningbing sat on the sofa with his phone turned down. His heartbeat was a little fast and his mind began to wander uncontrollably. A handsome, slow man with an inexplicable spiritual soul broke into his life in such a strange way. The more he thought about it, his face became redder and his heart beat faster. He took a deep breath and tried to calm his restless heartbeat and hot cheeks. Then he made a decision. Bai Shi's slender fingers trembled and picked up the phone to unlock it. There was a trace of imperceptible embarrassment and excitement in his voice. "Are you feeding 110? I want to report a crime. My house was robbed by a very strange thief. After I left Bai Ningbing's house, it was already evening. I came to the small world with more than $1,000 in my pocket. The thing that was heavy was not the money, but the loss of my heart. I had lost money doing this job so that I could spread the word. I was so exhausted that my colleagues would laugh me out of my teeth. I was so hungry that my chest was pressed against my back. When I saw the familiar old Chen Memorial Hall on the corner of the street, I went in without even thinking about it. The boss gave me a big bowl of beef noodles with meat and eggs. I slapped the money on the greasy table." His voice sounded like a virtual picture after a day of cleaning. He said in a familiar voice, "Hey Chiangzi, you look very tired today." I responded vaguely and found a seat in the corner to sit down. The shop was filled with the aroma of bone soup and the smell of the market. The The smoke from the fireworks made me feel like I had returned to reality from the battlefield of Bai Ningbing. It was quickly served. I picked up my chopsticks, stirred it up, and blew on it. I was about to eat the bowl of noodles. At this moment, a figure in a police uniform suddenly... My wrists were locked in an instant, and the noodles around my mouth were afraid of knocking them back into the bowl. I was so angry that the oil soup noodle restaurant was filled with people. Everyone in the noodle shop was shocked and looked at me in shock. My mind buzzed and I went blank. I expected to be caught doing this. After all, I often walk on the roadside. How can I not know evil? But why did it happen so quickly? Ken was under surveillance. There must be hidden cameras in Bai Ningbing's house for surveillance. Why the hell did I lose my professionalism when I was cleaning the house? I forgot my name. A young policeman asked me with a straight face. He Chiang. I took this head. The face on his face. When the police continued to ask me if you sneaked into 1704 of the National Police Yard community this afternoon, the answer was that the surveillance camera probably captured the stolen goods clearly and was denied. I was taken away by 2 policemen. I was taken out of the noodle shop by 2 policemen and put into a police car. Through the car window, I saw the passers-by pointing outside and Lao Chen's horrified and regretful face. Now it was over. The burglary was over. Although the amount was not large, it was enough for me to drink a bottle. My mother is still waiting for the signature in the hospital. I'm such a fucking loser. Sitting in the interrogation room with dazzling lights, I explained everything honestly, including how I picked the lock and got in, how I was shocked by the environment and how I couldn't help but start talking so early in the morning. How I took 1895 yuan as hard work and kept Dad Zhang. He took his note to the police station to make a record. His expression was very exciting. I wanted to laugh, but I had to hold it back. He Xiang, are you trying to help others on the spur of the moment during the theft? I answered with a grimace, Comrade Police, that I admit defeat. Lying on the hard bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind was filled with dull thoughts. The next morning, I was thinking about life discipline. The police came to open the door, and He Chiang came out. I thought it was an interrogation and followed him out dejectedly. Unexpectedly, in addition to the police, there was a woman standing in the reception room. The atmosphere in the reception room was a bit subtle. I lowered my head. Out of the corner of his eye, I caught a glimpse of the gentle figure Bai Ning. The big blue dress he wore today was draped softly over his shoulders. At this moment, he was standing next to a police officer, looking a little embarrassed and faintly excited. He Chiang write, please feel free to like, subscribe, forward, and reward to support the Der Spiegel and Yandian columns. Then the police officer's tone softened a little. Miss Bai Ningbing took the initiative to show us a letter of understanding after understanding the complete story, saying that she would not hold you responsible for anything. Wanyan looked at Bai Ningbing angrily, and she couldn't even look at her. She quickly opened her eyes like a frightened deer. What's strange is that there was a suspicious red moon on my cheeks. I laughed. Bai Ningbing locked the lock on her house and took more than 1,000 yuan from her. Not only did she not pursue the case, she even gave me a letter of understanding. Finally, the police officer kissed her throat and seemed to be trying to maintain seriousness. Although your behavior... However, in the specific implementation process, it is quite special and comprehensive consideration. You are extraordinary and have a good attitude in admitting your mistakes. The amount involved does not meet the standard for filing a case, and you have obtained the full understanding of the victim. After our research, we decided not to file a case for your behavior. The investigation will not file the case. I'm fine. The huge surprise made me a little busy, but the view, it is an illegal act to violate the law and illegally invade other people's homes for a short period of time. In view of the particularity of your behavior from now on, I will live an upright life and be detained for 15 days. Compared with the jail I may face, this is like falling from my youth to the sky. I accept it. I will reflect deeply. Thank you, the government. Thank you, the police officer. It also comes with a 15-day education package, including food accommodation and accommodation. I am the only one with this energy. Pai Ningning raised her head. Her face was red and her legs were fed. She quickly whispered, no, you're welcome. In fact, I should thank you for helping me clean the house. It has never been so clean. Her voice became quieter as she spoke. The guard coughed next to me. I hurriedly followed, but my heart felt like I had knocked over the 5-flavored food. What was this woman thinking about? 15 days of detention life came and went. Every day, apart from studying laws and regulations, I just reflected on life. I finally figured it out. This time I was lucky. I don't know what kind of job I will get next time. I have to find a serious job for my mother's sake. When I walked out of the detention center, the sun was a bit dazzling. I took a deep breath of free air and prepared to start over. However, as soon as I reached the corner, a white Porsche parked silently next to me, the window lowered to reveal Bai Ningding's delicate and slightly rosy face. "He Chiang, are you out?" I froze on the spot and screamed in my heart. "What's going on with this girl? The case is over. Why did she come to me?" "Miss Bai, are you okay?" I asked Bai cautiously. Ningding bit her lower lip, as if she mustered up the courage. "To celebrate your regaining freedom, I'll treat you to a meal. Just think of it as thank you for helping me clean up last time." My eyes widened, and I almost thought I heard wrong. The victim invited the perpetrator to dinner and thanked the perpetrator for helping him clean the home where he had been illegally moved. "Miss Bai, this is not appropriate. What happened in the past is over." Bai Ningding suddenly raised his voice and interrupted me. "I forgive you. Just say, 'Give me this face.'" His tone was a little delicate, but his eyes were full of expectation and even a hint of determination that could not be refused. I looked at him in a strange way and nodded. "That's okay." I opened the car door and got into the passenger car with some embarrassment. There was a fresh lemon fragrance that was similar to what he had at home later. It's also mixed with her good-smelling perfume. The seats are soft and comfortable, but it makes me feel like I'm sitting on pins and needles. The scene of a person coming out of an orange and this beauty in a beautiful car is really out of place. Bai Ningbing also seems a little nervous. She holds the steering wheel tightly with both hands and concentrates on driving. She only occasionally uses the corner of her eye to fly. After a quick glance at me, we finally stopped in front of a private restaurant that looked quite high-end. The environment was quiet and the private rooms were elegant. However, the fireworks shop I usually interact with was a completely different world. When ordering, she barely looked at the price and skillfully quoted a few dish names. "Hey, that's fine. I really don't have the intention to order. I'm still thinking about this weird situation. I'm waiting for the dishes to be served." Only the two of us are left in the private room. The atmosphere is more subtle and exquisite. The table is filled with dishes that are full of color, fragrance, and flavor. But I don't know how to taste them. "Miss Bai, why are you doing this? Help me and treat me to a meal. I'm a thief, after all." I didn't say the words, but he understood. Bai Ningding's cheeks were slightly red. He used chopsticks to gently fiddle with the rice in the bowl and said in a voice, "At first he was quite angry and scared. But after watching the surveillance, he felt that you are a very strange person. It's not bad." He paused and raised his head and looked at me with bright eyes. "How can a thief spend a whole day cleaning the victim's house and leave a note to educate people? Do you know how funny it was when you grinned at the stubborn house when you mopped the floor and when you sorted and folded my underwear?" I was suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder. I tried to think about it. I knew that Bai Ningbing suddenly smiled like a spring flower blooming with some footprints. "So do you think you are special?" She picked me up a chopstick and her tone became more natural. "In fact, I also want to thank you for your neatness that day," which made me feel whole. Her life was lit up when she said this. She put down her chopsticks and her expression became serious. I looked it up. "You know your mother needs money in the hospital." So I was shocked when I heard this. I looked at her in shock as she investigated me. Don't get me wrong, she even used her white hands to show that she meant no harm. "I just want to help you with your mother's medical expenses. I have already saved part of it. You don't have to worry about this for the time being. She paid for the medical expenses for me." The sudden news blew me up like a bomb. "No, I can't ask for this money if we are not related. And I also said that it was lent to you." Bai Ningbing interrupted me and leaned forward slightly, approaching danger. His warm breath with perfume smelled almost touched my cheek. There was an ambiguous adhesion in his voice. "It's not for nothing. If you feel sorry for it, you can pay me back slowly." "How can I pay you back?" I subconsciously wanted to say that I can't find a good job, but when I met her eyes that were looking directly at her, her eyes moved away from the water and clearly reflected my somewhat panicked look. It's very simple. His red lips were slightly raised and his tone was light and full of temptation. "Can you continue to help me clean and pay off the debt? I have seen your work and I am very satisfied. How about $1,000 a time? The price is much higher than the market price." With his eyes in distance at this moment, I feel that it has changed. He sat up straight and went back, picked up the wine glass, and shook his eyes slightly, but his eyes were still hooked. Ever since that subtle thank you banquet, Bai Ningbin and I seemed to have established an extremely strange connection. Every 3 or 4 days, he would send me messages with the same content and very reasonable content. "The guest house is in chaos again. Come and clean. At the end, there is a transfer of 1,000 yuan. I tell myself every time that this is work during the war, but every time I open the door of Bai Ningbin's house with the key. When faced with a room that was not as miserable as the first time, but was still messy, I still felt indescribably awkward. What kind of exclusive cleaning was this? Or was it the projection of some strange hobby of his? When cleaning, Bai Ningbin was sometimes at home, and sometimes not. When he was not at home, he would just sit on the sofa and hold a pen. I was doing some work on my laptop or watching TV shows. I would occasionally raise my eyes and follow my movements. His gaze didn't look like a supervisor, but looked like admiration. It made me feel uncomfortable all over. My mopping movements became a little stiff. Once, while I was struggling to clean up a solidified oil stain in his section, he came over and leaned against Hikyung. Do you only know how to clean? I'm hungry. I'm tired of ordering takeout. I replied unhappily. If I'm tired of takeout, I'll learn how to cook. I don't know how. There was a bit of coquettishness in his voice. Seeing that you work so neatly, you should be good at cooking. I don't know if I was provoked by his tone or because I wanted to prove something. I put down the rag in my hand, washed my hands, and opened his refrigerator. The ingredients inside are quite complete. I guess he purchased them recently. Whatever he wants to eat, I put on my rights protection and spoke in a firm tone. Bai Ningding's eyes suddenly lit up and he came over like a little girl. Whatever you do, I eat whatever you want. That day I made a simple 3-course meal and 1 soup. Braised pork ribs, steamed sea bass with garlic, broccoli, and tomato and egg drop soup. They were all home-cooked dishes, but the heat and taste were just right. When the food was served, Bai Ningbing narrowed his eyes when he took the first bite of the ribs and let out a satisfied sigh. It was so delicious. Your craftsmanship is amazing. Seeing the delicious food he ate, my reluctance dissipated a little, and I even felt a subtle sense of accomplishment. After that meal, Ningbin came to me to clean more frequently, and the focus was obviously shifted from cleaning to cooking. Until one day, when I had just tidied up his designated area and was about to cook, he called me to the living room. He was wearing a silk nightgown and leaned bravely on the sofa. His long legs were crossed. Kekshang wants to discuss something with you. You see how you clean, clothes, and cook are so to my liking. I happen to be short of a reliable person to take care of you. How about you stop doing part-time jobs and become my full-time live-in nanny? With a monthly salary of 1,000 yuan and all of my mother's medical expenses, this condition was not only generous, it was like pie in the sky. It hit me exactly where I needed it most. I had no room to refuse, and I didn't want to refuse. So I simply packed my luggage and officially moved into the guest room of Bai Ningding's house. My status was upgraded from temporary cleaning to live-in nanny. The job content was exactly as he said, cleaning and cooking, and occasionally helping him run errands. He paid extremely generously. They even advanced the first month's salary in advance so that I could support my family. However, since I moved into Bai Ningbing's house, the initial joy of pie in the sky, was quickly replaced by a growing torment. The source of this suffering was Bai Ningbing himself. He seemed to have completely entered a state of letting himself go, or in other words, he had dropped all his defenses in front of me. The clothes he wore at home became more and more bold and casual. Those needle-threaded nightgowns almost became his standard outfit. The fabric is as thin as cicada wings and tightly adheres to her exquisite body curves. I didn't have the opportunity to take a closer look before. Now that we are on the stage under the same roof, I am shocked by how good her figure is. The S-shaped curve that is forward and backward is perfect. The pair of plump B's are ready to come out under the nightgown. The slender straight eyebrows and legs are looming between the skirts. Occasionally, her full body is on the sofa. The leg line is really extended enough to complete the shoulders. She's like a rose that grows wantonly, exuding an alluring fragrance. And I, the nanny of a famous doctor, see this ultimate vision every day. I immediately turned around to study the flames on the stove, but Bai Ningbing was still willing to challenge my bottom line. The days passed quietly. On the afternoon of the weekend, Bai Ningbing changed clothes and came out of the bedroom. He Tiong accompanied me. He shook the 2 tickets in his hand to go to the movie. The tickets given by colleagues were given to me. If you don't watch, it will be a waste. His tone was casual, but his eyes were a little fuzzy. I didn't think much about following him out. I went to the theater to collect my tickets and found a seat. It wasn't until the eerie music started playing that I finally realized that this was a fucking horror movie. I subconsciously looked at Bai Ningbin next to him. The light and shadow on the screen were bright on his face. The pace of the movie was very fast, and one scare after another was frightening. Every time a ghost flashed on the screen or a sound effect suddenly sounded, Bai Ningbin would tremble all over and take a small breath of air conditioning. Less than 20 minutes into the game, he had already unconsciously rubbed his... The temperature of the air conditioner was indeed set low, but I felt that she was more frightened. Another extremely terrifying scene flashed past Bai Ning. With a ding, the whole team hurriedly locked my body. My body instantly froze and my arms were hanging in the air. I didn't know where to put them. My mind went blank. Only the trembling body and my arms were so clear. I was afraid, so don't watch it. No, the ticket can't be wasted. She slapped her face and buried it in my chest and said muffledly, but she didn't mean to get up at all. So during the second half of the movie, she almost shrank into my arms. When the movie ended and the lights came on, she jumped out of my arms as if she had been blocked. He got up first and almost ran away. I took a deep breath to suppress the restlessness in my heart and followed him. On the way home, there was a subtle silence in the car. He concentrated on driving. I turned my head to look at the rapidly regressing night scene outside the window, but the soft touch and accelerated heartbeat in my arms lingered for a long time. Because this matter just passed like this. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping in a daze, and the door of the bedroom was lightly rang. He-Tsiong, are you asleep? Bai Ning Ding's voice with a hint of comfort came from outside the door. I struggled to get up and open the door, only to see him hanging in the same needlework and sleeping. That movie scene is always playing in my mind. I can't sleep. Can I make a bed on the floor with you? Looking at his expression, I feel pity for him. Looking at the way he is dressed, my temples are pounding. Does it sound like asking him to make a bed on the floor in my room? A lonely man and a widow are having sex, but he is the financial backer and I am the one who gets it. I know the person who paid for my mother's medical expenses. I took a deep breath and tried to make my voice sound calm. You could sleep on the bed. I made the floor. He immediately objected. How can that be done? It's okay, I said firmly and started to get the spare from the cabinet. You are the employer. He looked at me neatly laying the floor, waving his lips and looking a little complicated. Thank you. He climbed onto my bed carefully. I turned off the big light and left only a dim bedside lamp. Then he quickly lay down on the bed with his back to the bed and quietly closed his eyes. Good night, Hee-Kyung. His voice came from the bed with a hint of imperceptible memes. Good night. I recalled in a muffled voice that the room was quiet except for each other's gentle breathing. I could hear the slight sound of her turning over on the bed. The sound of the friction of fabrics was infinitely amplified in the silent night. I don't know how long it took before I fell into a deep sleep due to physical exhaustion and mental tension. In my sleep, I felt like I was back when I was a child, holding the big anus cat that I had at home for many years. The relationship between me and Bai Ling Bing has become more subtle. He seems to have found new pleasures. The frequency of taking me out on weekends has increased significantly. In every issue of Minhwa Experience, life can't always be boring at home, but every trip is filled with a bit of ambiguity. When going to art exhibitions, he will wear tight bags to stock up on clothes that are just right when I bend over to read the exhibit descriptions carefully. We will go to newly opened luxury stores. He will wear those dresses and accessories with astonishing prices. There will always be trial openings. Yilian blinked and asked me if I looked good. These intensive dates and bits and pieces of our cohabitation life also made my understanding of him no longer limited to the surface. When he was in a good mood, he would talk about himself intermittently. I gradually pieced together his mother was hit hard and now she travels all the year round to relax and seldom comes home. Bai Ning Ding himself was tired of those sophisticated parties and socialite life and found it quite boring, so he found a leisurely administrative job to pass the time. Then why didn't you hire a housekeeper or a nanny before? I finally asked the doubt that had been hidden in my heart for a long time. With his family background, it is so easy to hire a professional housekeeper. Why would he turn his family into an expert? Why would he want to find me, a thief who has become a monk, on the way? When he heard this question, Bai Ning Ding was inserting lilies in the vase and moved his hands. The light of her voice turned around my face, but in the end, no real explanation was given. The days passed by the growing enthusiasm between me and Bai Ning Bing. Until early in the morning on my birthday, I received a blessing message from my mother. I felt a little sour, and Bai Ning Bing came over mysteriously. Hee-Chang, the weather is so good today, don't be bored at home, and go out with me for a walk. I was pulled out of the door before I could say anything. This trip lasted a whole day. He seemed to have made perfect plans in advance, making it compact but interesting. He went to the technology exhibition that I had always wanted to see, but he was not willing to spend money. Tried an exquisite lunch at the revolving restaurant on the top floor, and even took me to play for an hour in the afternoon. It was my favorite video game city when I was young. He was clumsy when playing shooting games, and he laughed happily than anyone else, like a high school girl who skipped classes. As the sun set, I carried large and small bags, mostly things he bought. I felt like my legs were almost no longer my own. Whatever you want to eat in the evening, I'll treat you. You can order the rest. He fed me with great interest. I rubbed my sore calves and opened my eyes to the city above. An inexplicable tiredness and longing came to my mind. Why don't you go home and eat it tonight? I'll cook it for you. After hearing my words, Bai Lingbing was stunned for a moment, and his eyes turned into crescent moons. Okay, go home and eat. We went to a nearby supermarket to buy groceries. He pushed the shopping cart towards the curious baby and threw in any ingredients he saw that interested him. He was still saying, "Can you cook this? What about that? Which dish I want to eat? You cook." Finally, we returned home with several large bags full of ingredients. I started to get busy in the kitchen. He did not sit on the sofa for the first time, but helped me out like a diligent little bee. When the last soup came out of the pot, the dining table was already filled with 4 flavors. The braised pork is shiny and attractive. The steamed fish is fragrant. The boiled cabbage heart is dripping with green. It can be called a small family banquet. Bai Ning took out a bottle of expensive-looking red wine from nowhere. He skillfully took care of it and poured in new wine. "Thank you for your hard work, chef." He smiled and poured me wine and then filled it for himself. Looking at the table full of dishes and him across from me, a corner of my heart felt soft and soft. I haven't experienced this feeling of home for a long time. However, just when I picked up the chopsticks and prepared to taste the most special birthday meal, Bai Ningding held my hand and waited. His eyes shone with anticipation. There is also the most important part of the birthday gift today. Don't those already count? He interrupted me and stood up. He pulled me to the sofa in the living room and sat down. "Sit here and close your eyes. Don't peek." His tone was undeniably delicate. I closed my eyes and felt curious and a little funny. I didn't know what this young lady was going to do. I could hear his footsteps walking towards the bedroom as fast as possible. Then there was a slight sound of the door closing. Time passed in the living room. It was quiet and I could hear my heartbeat. What is he doing? Just when I couldn't help but want to open my eyes to peek, there was a vague ding-dong sound, accompanied by a faint and elegant fragrance that was different from his usual acquaintance. I could open my eyes. His voice sounded with a trace of unnoticeable nervousness and shyness. I slowly opened my eyes. In an instant, my breathing stopped and my heart skipped a beat. Under the soft light of the living room, Bai Ningding stood quietly. She actually changed into an extremely exquisite hanfu. It was a water blue pneumatic skirt, which was expected to be of good quality. The silk of my trousers was embroidered with delicate cicada scales and dark patterns. The wide sleeves and fluttering skirt was sloping down like flowing water. Normally, he would be sexy or playful, but at this moment, he was like a maid walking out of an ancient painting. She was so beautiful and elegant, with a fairy spirit that let me dance for you as a birthday present. After saying that, he sweated slightly without waiting for my response. He started to dance with the rhythm of the ancient music. The water was beautiful. The poplar trees were like clouds and mist, and the group of immortals was like a dream. His dancing was not professional, and some of his movements were even life and death. But his focus, devotion, and the lingering affection contained in the flowing water were more impactful than any professional dance. I leaned on the sofa and looked at the dreamlike scene in front of my eyes. An extremely unreal but extremely strong illusion welled up in my heart. I, He Zheong, Hider I Nengjing, seemed to have the royal enjoyment. But in front of me, the alluring concubine, her eyes only fell on me from beginning to end. I danced with her, leaning forward slightly and shyly. She raised her eyes and ended, and the living room became quiet. The only sounds left were the rapid breathing of the two of us and the silent but already diffuse ambiguous complaint. She stood there, her cheeks flushed, her chest rising and falling slightly, and she looked at me boldly and contentedly and asked Hexam. I like my hoarse voice, but it carries unprecedented seriousness and enthusiasm. I like Bai Ningbing's eyes instantly brightened up. As if falling into thousands of stars, he walked to sit opposite me and sat down. Let's eat and try our chef He's skills. He picked up the chopsticks and his eyes were still stuck to my face. It was good to eat. I picked up the wine glass and gently exchanged it with him. The sound of my heart seemed to be a signal. This is destined to be an extraordinary night. The dishes are delicious. I put a lot of thought into each dish. Every dish is a specialty. His eyebrows are reflected in the light, and the wine leaves and the water and flames are enchanting. My drinking capacity is very good. I usually drink 1 or 2 kilograms of white wine, but I don't know why Chingman only drinks a few glasses of red wine. An unusually strong drunkenness rushed up. My brain began to become muddy, and my vision was a little blurry. Opposite me, Bai Ningbing's smiling face seemed to be covered with a layer of soft light, making it more beautiful and unreal. It was like a fire was lit in my body. My mouth was dry, my heart was beating, and I was losing blood. I shook my head and, "What's wrong? Is Kyung drunk too much?" Bai Ningbing's voice came closer with concern. His warm breath blew into my ears. I raised my eyes to look at him and met his eyes that were looking directly at him. I don't know when the shyness and expectation in his eyes had receded and were replaced by a more and more successful foot effect. Like a kitten peeking at a fish. Something is wrong. There is something wrong with the wine. This idea flashed through my chaotic brain like lightning or fire, but it was too late. A strong feeling of powerlessness sucked bacteria all over my body. I tried to stand up, but I just shook my arms in vain. I couldn't lift. I saw Bai Lingbing stand up in my blurry field of vision. With a rime on her face, there was a mixture of shyness and determination. She looked at the exquisite Hanfu sash, untied around her waist with her delicate hands. The delicate muscles on her shoulders glowed softly under the lamp. She leaned closer, held my hot forehead with her delicately scented fingers, and whispered softly. The last thing that caught my eye was the shy and bold smile of her mother on the corner of her lips, and her consciousness sank completely.